All right, today we're going to look at two really fascinating ways to boost our well-being. One is all about a physical jolt, and the other, it's about mastering what's going on inside our own heads. Now, they sound like they're from totally different planets, right? But you'll see, they both get us to the same incredible place, resilience. So let's just dive right in.
So here's the game plan. First up, we'll get a handle on just how big this whole well-being challenge is. Then, we're jumping into our first tool, the pretty surprising power of cold shock. From there, we'll shift gears and look inward at how our minds and emotions can totally mess with or fix our sleep. And to wrap it all up, we'll build what I'm calling your resilience toolkit.
Okay, so why are we even talking about this? I mean, why now? Well, because finding a sense of well-being, that's not just some passing trend you see online. It's become a really urgent global thing. And the data? The data paints a picture that's, well, it's impossible to ignore.
So to put this into perspective, let's just look at the numbers. One of our sources hits us with this pretty staggering statistic, 44%. Just let that sink in, 44%. That is almost half of the entire adult population in Australia. That's someone who has dealt with a mental health challenge at some point. It just goes to show you this isn't a niche issue. It's everywhere.
And you know, it's not just about what gets officially diagnosed. Our other source looked at university students in Italy, and it uncovered another huge piece of this crisis. Get this, 57.5%, more than half of these students were identified as poor sleepers. And we're not just talking about being a little groggy in the morning, we're talking about a core pillar of our health that is literally crumbling for so many people.
So when you see numbers like that and you realize that, traditional treatments don't work for everyone or have their own limits, it becomes really clear. The search for new, accessible tools isn't just a nice to have, it's absolutely critical. And that is the perfect setup for the two really powerful methods we're about to get into.
All right, let's jump into our first method. And I'll be honest, this one sounds intense. But the science is showing that a deliberate physical jolt can have some seriously profound benefits for your mind. Yep, we are talking about cold water immersion.
So what in the world is CWI? It's actually pretty simple. It's just you voluntarily getting into water that's below 20 Celsius or 68 Fahrenheit. Could be the ocean, a lake, one of those fancy plunge tubs. Doesn't matter. But that word voluntarily is everything. This isn't about falling in by accident, right? This is a choice. You're doing it on purpose.
Okay, so here's the cool part. What's actually happening inside your body? The second you hit that cold water, bam, your fight or flight system just lights up. And that triggers this huge rush of hormones, things like dopamine and norepinephrine. These are the big players when it comes to mood and stress. And scientists think that this whole biochemical chain reaction is what might actually create a kind of antidepressant effect.
But it's not just about the chemistry. The way people feel when they do this is just as powerful. I mean, take a look at this word cloud from the research. It literally shows you what people reported. And look at the words popping out at you. Calming, mindfulness, resilience, freedom, feeling good. It's this whole collection of amazing feelings that's so much more than just, brr, I'm cold.
So to make sense of all these different feelings and experiences, the researchers boiled it all down into 4 main themes. It really gives us a great way to understand all the benefits.
Let's quickly run through them. First, pretty obvious, improved health, both physical and psychological. Second, feeling more connected to nature. Third, a really strong sense of community and connection with others doing it. And fourth, and this one's huge, a deep feeling of personal growth. Think about it. You're basically teaching your body how to deal with intense stress, and that builds this incredible belief that you can handle anything.
I mean, this quote from one of the participants just says it all, doesn't it? There's nothing you can throw at me now. That's the feeling. You keep facing this intense but controlled stressor, the cold, and you're literally training your nervous system. You learn to respond instead of just freaking out. And that builds this unshakable belief in yourself that you can handle whatever life throws your way. It's an empowering feeling that you carry with you long after you've dried off.
Okay, so that's how an external physical shock can build you up. Now let's completely flip the script and look at a tool that works from the inside out. We're moving away from the body's reaction to cold water, and we're diving deep into the mind's power to handle emotions and how that has a massive impact on something we all need, sleep.
So our second study is all about something called emotional intelligence, or EI for short. And look, this is not about being some kind of robot with no feelings. It's actually the total opposite. It's the skill of first noticing your emotions, then figuring out what you're actually feeling, and finally being able to manage those feelings so you can handle, well, life. Okay, But what does this have to do with sleep? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The study compared the EI scores of good sleepers versus poor sleepers, and the results were, frankly, striking. You look at this chart, and right across the board, the good sleepers scored way higher, especially in two key areas: emotional clarity, which is knowing what you feel, and emotional repair, which is knowing how to deal with it.
This chart here really drives the point home, especially for emotional repair. Just look at that gap. It's not a small difference, it's significant. The takeaway is crystal clear. People who are better at managing their emotions are, plain and simple, better at sleeping. You really can't argue with that connection. So here's the bottom line, the so what of all this. This study basically lays out the whole process. When we don't, or can't, deal with the emotional stuff from our day, that stress doesn't just disappear. It turns into what scientists call cognitive rumination. You know that feeling, right? Your brain just gets stuck on a loop, replaying negative thoughts over and over. And that chaos, that's what you take to bed with you. That's what becomes tossing and turning on.
And that brings us right to our final section, what we're calling your resilience toolkit. We've just explored two totally different strategies, right? A freezing cold plunge and managing your emotions. But here's the thing, they're just two different roads that lead to the exact same place, taking back control of your own well-being.
And this slide really just nails the main idea. Think of it like this. The cold shock works from the outside in. You're using a physical challenge to toughen up your mind. Emotional intelligence works from the inside out. You're building an internal skill to better handle everything the outside world throws at you. See? Different approaches, but they both get you to the same place, resilience.
So, what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that both of these things, CWI and EI, are tools you can use proactively to handle stress. They're not about waiting for a problem, they're about building your strength ahead of time. Think of it like working out your resilience muscle. And in the end, when you learn to master your responses, whether it's to a physical shock or an emotional trigger, you get this amazing sense of being in the driver's seat of your own life.
And that really just leaves us with one final question to chew on. We've seen how a physical jolt and a mental skill can have these incredible, scientifically proven benefits. It just makes you wonder, doesn't it? In this whole quest for well-being, what other simple, powerful tools are sitting right under our noses, just waiting to be discovered?